Today we're going to work on the most neglected car out of our entire collection, and that is my 1955 Ford Thunderbird. Well, it turns out it's got an incredible story, but I'm not going to bore you on that. Today we're going to fix those brakes because we're going to get this thing back out on the road. I've done so much on this car for the last 2 years, which is crazy to think I've owned this for over 2 years now. But I've done a lot to make it reliable, but keep it original. It's got the original matching numbers V8 292 Y block engine in it. Almost everything's original. I put electronic ignition. I put a better carb on it because the original carb, which I did rebuild, still kind of sucks. Teapot carburetor. And there's a lot of old guys that say, oh, you know what, they work great. Well, you know what, still ran like shit. So I put what I know best, a 4160 carburetor on it, and it runs flawlessly now. I put brand new brakes all around the car, but in the process I pulled all the brakes apart. So now we're gonna put them all back together. So let's get to it.
All right, first things first is to pull off these old wheels. Set this heavy ass wheel aside. Okay.
Okay.
In there.
So I put a new cotter pin on the old castle nut. Honestly, these brakes are brand new. They should be functioning. What we're doing today is easy peasy stuff. What we gotta do is we gotta put the old master cylinder back, and I got a new line for it.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this car is if you notice, the master cylinder goes right here, and the brake booster's over here. I got the Bluetooth power booster. So basically, there's a line that goes right here. And what's funny is this booster is so tiny, it only works for one pair of wheels. So you can either control the rear power or front power. So I'm gonna have power front brakes, manual rear brakes. It's crazy. These T-Birds, the old technology.
And then we're gonna need a new cotter pin for this castle nut.
Yeah, we need one for this side and one for the other side.
But there you go. I mean, this side is now complete.
There we go. Yeah.
Boom. This side's done.
A little seal on it. Okay.
I think you're good. I think you're good.
Master cylinder reservoir is completely bench bled. We're all good to go. Now we gotta put it back on this little kind of like a banjo bowl. I don't know what you would call this.
Get that thing nice and snug. Keep it from leaking.
Master cylinder reservoir is back in. The push rod length was a little bit off because of the stupid little rod was cut from a previous owner. Luckily I had parts to fabricate it, and I had my special tool right here, which allows me to basically narrow it down exactly where it needs to be. So that problem is solved. The other problem is that this line right here needs 2 copper washers on both sides. Problem is that the copper washers were old and they were basically leaking. So now I gotta go to the store and get some new ones. So here it is right here. You can see that tiny little washer is on it, so I gotta pull this off and take it to the store, and I gotta get 2 new ones. We got some copper washers. So the only one that's gonna maybe fit, so maybe if we just file it down it'll work. Close enough, that's all they have. So now we have the back up in the air, so we're gonna pull this off. Next step is to bleed the brakes.
And by the way, we did use the copper washers, at least one of them on the front, as you can see right there. And at least for right now, it did stop the leak. Everything seems to be working properly. So now it's time to bleed.
We're working on the side that's farthest from the master cylinder. I got my big old empty distilled water can. We got a big fat girthy hose, and we got the Zerk fitting on the other side. So I'm gonna tell Lenny when to push and release the pedal, and while he's doing that, I'm gonna be tightening and releasing, allowing all the air to escape the system so that we have good functioning brakes, hopefully. Release.
Release.
Okay. Press down again.
Down.
Okay, release.
Reservoir is pretty low. Okay, that is fucking full on.
Just don't shake the car.
Jesus Christ. Fucking, you couldn't add a drop more if you wanted to. We'll update you when this process is done.
So we actually bled the entire car. It took a very long time. There was a ton of air trapped in lines. But now that it's bled, we have to adjust the brakes. Since these brakes are old, they're not self-adjusting brakes. You gotta manually adjust them. So you just pull this little rubber piece off the back, and there's a little star inside here. And you basically take this screwdriver and you just keep spinning it. And basically what I want is you can go up or down, and I want to make it so that it feels tight and then back off a little bit. And basically, I'll know I'm done when I put the wheel on and I, give it a good spin, and it can make one full rotation and then basically stop itself. That's the goal. So I got 2 wheels done so far. So now I'm working on this one. Unfortunately, it kind of seems like it's a little tight right now. This one's a little bit tight. Okay, this might be too loose, but let's put the wheel on and see. Okay, so we adjusted the brakes. The car still feels like crap, but I think I finally figured it out. This car's been sitting for the longest time because the brakes just don't work, and it's like unsafe. I'm gonna crash the car. And finally, I am so ecstatic right now because I finally figured out what's going on. So I'm used to normal drum brakes and normal power brakes, and I've never dealt with such primitive technology before. Let me just show you what's going on. So you got your master cylinder right there. That has a line that goes to the brake booster. Now these brake boosters only work for one pair of wheels. So this is hooked up to basically power the front wheels only. Now, having a booster, a remote booster, just sitting on the side is a little strange to me. But it turns out that you have these bleeder valves right here, and you're technically only supposed to have this one bleeder valve. I didn't know what they were for, and I bled the brakes around the car a million times. Bench bled the master, and it just mushy pedal. So right now, what I just did was I bled it from the booster. I didn't know you have to do that. Maybe I'm an idiot for that, but I bled it from the booster, and this one right here, you can't move. It's basically seized in there. So some janky mechanic, instead of going out and buying a new booster, which they're like $1,000, they just basically added a new bleeder valve right here. So this one I was able to move with some heavy duty vice grips, because that one's also pretty seized on. But I was able to bleed it, and just 2 pumps, we bled it, we got a firm pedal. So I have to take it out on the road for a real road test before we can confirm this is the deal. But I think we did it, and I am just so happy now because we may have functioning brakes on this car. This car, look how much dust has collected on this car. This car's just been sitting for so long. I can't wait to wash it. I can't wait to drive it. It's been sitting because I couldn't figure out the brakes. I'm not taking it to a mechanic. I did originally a long time ago. He couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out. I wasn't gonna waste more money on the, trying to figure that out. So I think we finally did it, and I am just so happy about this. So let's take it out on the road and see if the brakes are working. Oh, hi there. I'm just, adding a brake light switch because that's something we badly needed. So now that the brakes work, which it's crazy that that's actually something I'm saying, I gotta put this brake light switch in, and I just calibrated it, so now I just gotta get this fucking piece of shit tightened. So we're doing it like this. Unfortunately, it's like a rat's nest under here, and it's very hard to reach everything.
Press it. All right, you're on.
Okay.
You're off. You're back on.
Perfect.
You're off. Are you comfortable?
No.
Boom.
Okay. I think we're ready to
Take it on the street.
take it on the street, dude.
Let's do it.
We gotta wash it first, though.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we pulled it out of the garage. Noah gave it a nice deep wash. It's looking shinier than ever. And it's time to take this thing on the road, test out the brakes once and for all, and see if she's finally back from the dead. All right, well, let's hit the road. Get some nice rollers for you.
As you know, about 2 years ago, I bought one of my many dream cars, and it's been a long journey in this past 2 years. The story behind this car is that an old man was building it for his wife. He was restoring it. He had tens of thousands of dollars put into this car. It was an absolute rust bucket when he found it. Restored it like about 90%, and unfortunately she passed. So then he sold it to me for a fraction of the price, and my initial idea was I'm gonna hot rod it, I'm gonna throw a Godzilla motor in it, and I thought, you know what, out of respect for the craftsmanship that went into this car,
I'm gonna keep it original. A lot of money went into this car to keep it original, but I wanted to drive it. I hate cars that just sit in garages and just aren't driven, so I did a lot of things to it. And one of the biggest problems with these cars is that they're 6 volts, so if you die on the side of the road, no one can really jump you. I put in a 12 volt battery, which meant I needed to switch all the electronics, so that was a huge conversion I did. My fat ass doesn't sit in this seat too well, so of course I had to change out the steering wheel, because the old steering wheel is like this big, so you have leverage with power steering, but this car has power steering, so I don't need that, and I couldn't fit in it, and I have the seat all the way back, so I got a smaller steering wheel, so I put that on. But overall I kept the thing pretty original, even the brakes. Now the brakes were a huge fiasco. So when he sold it to me, the brakes didn't work. They were shot, kaput, nothing. You slam on the brake as hard as you can, you're going right into that wall. So I wanted brakes. I looked at disc brake upgrades. They were expensive, so I thought, you know what, fuck it. Let's just keep the original drums. So I bought drums for the T-Bird. I got those drums, slapped them on, and finally today, we figured out what's wrong with the brakes. Maybe I'm an idiot because it took me 2 years to figure this out, but we got the brakes working and the car is ready for the road again. So I can't wait to go put another 1,000 miles on it in the next few days, just drive it non-stop. But unfortunately, like all things, everything must come to an end. Believe it or not, I've never owned a car for more than 2 years. I've hopped from cars to cars like crazy, mainly because I've owned a lot of pieces of shit. So with all that said, this car may be going off to a new owner very soon. And that means a new spot is opening up in my garage for a new vehicle. So with that, I want you to comment down below what you can guess I'm getting next. Gonna have a lot of horsepower, that's your hint, and hopefully we could find an owner who could really appreciate this piece of art for what it is. And catch you next time.